on Twitch, and we're going to see if we can get it up on YouTube as well. All right, looks like I think we're up on YouTube as well now. It's a step in the right direction. Yeah, we are. All right, that's good. All right. And let's see, are we up on Facebook now as well? We may be. No, it looks like not on Facebook. Instagram? We live on Instagram? Let's see. Doesn't look like it. All right. Well, if you're seeing this on YouTube right now or on Twitch, this is basically it's a test of yours truly here. Getting up and getting running on what's been the severe thunderstorm seemed like the perfect opportunity. I've been up for like 20 minutes, but I don't think I actually was streaming, so it was a good chance to practice and get things going. But I've been following the severe thunderstorms that are out in Western Mass. Look, bottom line is Central Mass. Bottom line is I know I want to get on this pretty soon, right? So I want to make sure that I know what I'm doing. So a couple of different areas, if you are just joining out, because it looks like at least I've got us out on Twitch and on YouTube as well. And what I probably ought to do is, we'll just kick the day. We'll just leave it this way. Yeah, we'll leave it this way. All right. If you discovered me here on YouTube or Twitch, wonderful. By the way, you can always get the live stream, which is the Twitch live stream, at livestream.1degreeoutside.com. And I say that because you're going to find the chat window that'll be there as well. So we actually could chat with each other. And there is a way for me to try and figure out how to make that happen over here. Let's see. Where did I put it? I don't even know. But I can see the chat whenever you do it in that live stream window right at livestream.1degreeoutside.com. So give that a try. If you're seeing this right now, you will see the chat that shows up there, and you'll be able to chat with me. Let's see. Oh, and there is the chat. All right, I got it right here. There we go. All right, I see you now. All right, here we go. I see you in the chat. All right, there we go. And that should show up. Yes, that showed up there. All right, figuring it out. So for those of you that are just turning in would like some actual weather information, right? Leominster, you're right on the edge of a severe thunderstorm warning. A severe thunderstorm warning issued by the National Weather Service is out until 4:45 this afternoon for the storm that's moving basically east-northeast. All right. Look, the issue here mostly is hail on the north side of the storm, but you see the wind gust to 60-mile-per-hour possibility here. And so let me get this out of the way, and we'll zoom right in on the storm. There's really the worst of the storms on the north side. So Barrie, you just got hit hard with some heavy downpours. And those heavy downpours now are continuing to move off to the north and east. Here's the latest scan of the radar that's coming in. You're going to get those about every 60 seconds or so. So you get it along State Route 68 now. When you get far enough north on 68 is where you start to run right smack dab into the hail core. Now, it's not like it's substantial hail at this point, but let me go ahead and show you what we're dealing with in terms of your hail size. We can get it over to the probability of severe hail size. So that is really, again, you can see way on the north side of the storm. I can go ahead and probe into the center of that, and you've got an over 60% chance of severe-sized hail, but that's way north of Barrie. That's going way north of Leominster for that matter as well. I can scan you to the north a little bit. And Gardner, actually on the south side of Gardner, you may start to get into this a little bit. This thing's headed off to the east-northeast, so where 68 comes into Whitney Street, that's going to be one area where that hail core is going to come in. In a hail right now, looks like it's probably on the order of about 3/4 of an inch. But nonetheless, you are certainly going to get some real heavy rain out of that as well. I can swing you over to the storm relative velocity or the wind out of this and show you exactly what's heading right now on wind. We've got a couple of different areas to watch, but basically this is out of the Taunton radar site, which is down in southeastern Massachusetts. Look at this. Breaking kind of change here. We've got two tornadic vortex signatures that are showing up on the south side of this. Neither of these seems to be immediately concerning. And you say, well, why would I say that? Because this is a tornado vortex signature. Right now, that is way removed from outside the bulk of the updraft. So you may have rotation that's going on the south side of the storm, but you can see your updraft is located up by Palmer. This area would be one you'd want to watch a little bit closer, because if you can get the rotation to tuck up under the updraft, then you're going to have a bigger problem there. So those are two areas that stand out just because the radar algorithm picks up on them. But I would say right here would be the one you'd keep an eye on. And at this point, I don't think you'd be imminently concerned, but stand by. what I'm going to do here is I'm going to swing you over to storm relative velocity, where green indicates air going one way, red indicates air going another. Interestingly, so you do have a little bit of what we call gate-to-gate shear that's going on the south side of the storm here near Highway 20. This is coming toward Fiskdale, but again, if I go back over to the reflectivity out of that, now you don't see a lot of updraft with that. So basically what I'm talking about here is I'm looking to try and find an intersection between, when you see the red and the purple, that's where you've got your real healthy updraft. That's where the storm really is pumping air up into the sky. And a tornado essentially is a rotating updraft, right? So what you want to do is you need to get the rotation if you want to develop a tornado tucked in underneath some of that red and some of that purple, and you just aren't doing that right now. You can actually see, though, it's kind of cool, just from a weather geeking out standpoint, you can actually see that there is, there I go with the telestrator. First time doing this. Again, I just want to kind of get out here and get some practice, with this first event. But nonetheless, you can, I think I still have telestrator on, right? Let me see. No, okay. You can see there's definitely a little bit, of the storm. It's a mini rotation. It's nothing to worry about for tornadic development. But this is interesting. So this is what I'm talking about. Let me clear this out of here. This is why you got to watch this stuff, because now, there we go with the telestrator again. There we go. Because now what you are starting to do is you're starting to tuck in a little bit of that updraft coming around. So basically, to explain it a little bit more, you've got an inflow notch coming in here where your air's coming into the storm, and now you're starting to wrap the back part of the storm out around this thing. So again, at this point, I don't look at that and say, oh my goodness, it's something that's imminently tornadic, but you do now have the combination of the radar algorithm picking up on a tornadic vortex signature, and you're starting to try and develop just a little bit of a tuck into the storm behind what is at least an evident rotation that shows up. If we go back over to storm relative velocity, there it is. Again, not the end of the world, not something where it's strong gate-to-gate shear, but something where, sure, you do have air that's trying to at least kind of broadly rotate. Another area back here, again, radar algorithm picking up on what it's calling a tornadic vortex signature. In other words, the radar for the algorithms that it has says, I think there might be a tornado developing in here. And sometimes that can be the case. In this case, yet again, much like we just talked about, starting to see more indications that you're getting some of this kind of updraft coming around on the north side of the storm, and you're starting to get a stronger storm core that's backing around on the side of that rotation. So this is another one you got to watch. Look, overall, part of the reason that you're paying really close attention to these is because they're in a general warm advection environment. What I mean by that is, here, let me go over and analyze the map for you. There we go. All right, so what this is doing here is this is now plotting a couple of different things for you. I've plotted the mean sea level pressure, which barely shows up, but that's not really what I want you to focus on right now. What I want you to focus on are two things. I've got wind direction on here that shows up with some of the arrows that you're seeing showing up on the map. I can highlight them because they're a little bit hard to see, particularly if you're watching on a mobile device right now. So let me go ahead and go to telestrate. You got a southerly wind that's coming up here. You got a southeasterly wind coming up here. And you got a south-southwesterly wind coming up into Litchfield County. So the problem is basically you've had a warm front that's come through the area. It's sliced across the area right now. One of the things I could actually do here, let me see if I can get over. Yeah, let me watch this. Ready? Let me switch over, apply this. There we go. Okay, it's going to go. Let me clear out the telestration for you. Oh, wow. I just flew across the ocean. Again, just so you know, this is this is Matt on his first time. Wow, I really did, I think. Look at that. We're over in Africa. Hold on. I planned ahead for this. There we go. All right. So now we can come back in again. And you never know what you're going to see the first time you try one of these, right? But what I was starting to say before I was rudely interrupted by myself is you do have a warm front coming in here. And so that warm front really is on the leading edge to this more unstable air. So if you were to analyze the air and look at how much available energy there is in the atmosphere, it's about 2,200 what we call joules per kilogram. It's a way to measure energy, and that's down across Northwest Connecticut. That's your greatest instability, so to speak. But actually, multiple studies have shown that when you get on the north side of instability, and it's what we call advecting or moving in your direction, that actually can increase the chance of tornadic development. And the reason for that is because you have the difference in wind that starts to set up. So you do have a south-southeast wind ahead of these things, a southerly wind coming up the throat of the Connecticut River Valley, and a southwest wind that comes in behind it. So what that does is it kind of gives you this area of natural spin that tries to happen in the atmosphere. And that's what's going on right now. And that's the reason that I say you got to be a little bit careful here and not say, well, it just doesn't look like it's strong enough to produce a tornado. Yeah, maybe not at the moment. But I think the issue that we run into is that we're talking about a storm that ends up, if it gets strong enough, able to add that in. So let me go ahead and swing on the next radar here out of the Taunton site again. We were looking at this a short time ago. I'll go ahead and turn off some of our kind of basic composite radar that shows up underneath it. There we go. And these are two different areas of tornadic vortex signature that are showing up on the radar. Yes, this is the radar telling you that it believes that there is a way right now for that a tornado may be developing. But what I was telling you is sometimes you see that and that's not the case. So what you have to do is you have to dive in a little bit deeper. And in doing that, we go over to storm relative velocity. And I would say that probably this is one of the areas that I'd be more concerned about is this State Route 32, Crest Road, Brimfield Road, because you can see here you definitely have a bit of difference in wind directions going on. There is certainly another one that's showing up when you make your way by Route 19 right now, Hayes Hill Road. This one is moving off to the east-northeast. But again, if I go over to the reflectivity, the kind of more standard plot, you just don't see the same intensity around that rotation. So that's where we have there. Let's see. So I'm just reading the chat here, which, by the way, if you want to take part, it's at livestream.1degreeoutside.com. I just got my first spam chat. Can I get rid of those? I don't even know. You get rid of chats? Who knows? I had set to the lowest, what do you call it? The lowest security setting, just because I figured, who would bomb a weather guy's live stream? Well, we just discovered. All right. So anyways, here we go. South of Palmer now, coming across State Route 32, torrential rain at this point, and that's coming up toward Route 20. So this is one area that you watch. Again, if we switch over to the storm relative velocity, yep, there's a broad scale rotation here. No, it's not necessarily something that immediately makes you worry that it could be tornadic, but what I could do here is I could actually go ahead and let me see if I could turn off some of the road labeling because it's getting a little bit annoying. Don't you agree? I think so. Let's go in here and road labeling. Let's stop that. There we go. So one of the things, though, that I want to show you here is the analysis of inside the storm. So what we're doing is we've got a couple of things. We've got this thunderstorm energy that's on here, but we also have an estimate of what the potential downburst winds would be out of this thing. So our potential downburst wind just east of Palmer is 55 miles per hour, 56 miles an hour. And that's the reason for the warning on this storm. It's the combination of hail with downburst wind potential. If you zoom out the view a little bit more, you can see exactly where some of that downburst wind potential is showing up. It's basically east of Palmer, along the Mass Turnpike up toward Route 20. This is your area right now where you're talking about 56 mile per hour downburst winds. Oh, mentioned by Tim Kelly on Twitter. Isn't that nice? Thank you, Tim. Thank you. I appreciate it, buddy. And Tim, of course, does some amazing stuff that you can always find with his Out the Door and More, always putting together these great videos every morning to give you an overview on what's going on with the weather, and you can follow him there. Funny thing is, I happen to see it in a notification here. I'm still trying to figure out exactly how to see all of your social media comments and pushes while I'm actually doing a live stream. So working on that, plenty still to figure out. Again, this is just kind of a practice for you, just to kind of kick the tires, so to speak. If you're just kind of tuning in, great. Just wanted to hear my name. Thanks for the shout out, Tim. It's a serendipity. I just happen to be seeing your alert show up on my iPad out of the corner of my eye. I haven't figured out how to get any of this stuff set up yet. The only thing I can see is if folks go to livestream.1degreeoutside.com and you use that chat room, I can see that, including the person that just spammed me. But nonetheless, I haven't figured out how to actually see everything live otherwise yet. I could just open a Twitter window, but I'd be going through so many windows, it'd be nuts. So again, right now it's torrential rain and large hail. Let's go back over to the probability of severe hail here. There's two areas that stand out. Actually, the greatest probability for severe hail is just coming. We'd mentioned this earlier when it was first coming on the south side of Gardner. Let me get Gardner centered in the map here. And look at that. You've got a 72% chance of severe hail, 73% chance right there at the center here. What I should be able to do is I should be able to go ahead and start putting on some road plots for you. There we go. So there's State Route 68, south side of Gardner, basically, is where that hail core is coming in on you right now. It's going to come across Whitney Street. Sure, I can put them on and leave them on there for you as well. There's Whitney Street. There's Route 2A. I don't think you need me to add another label to that. Oh, it looks like the latest scan is just coming in. Did it almost wipe it away for us entirely? It may have. Let's go ahead and stop labeling our roads. Let's swing over to this. We can zoom out a little bit more. There we go. 2 active severe thunderstorm warnings right now. I do have active severe thunderstorm energy that's on here as well. That's the contouring, the coloring that you're seeing at the bottom. Most of the energy, ironically, is in Connecticut, but right now you've got a warm front that's made its way across central Massachusetts, western and central Mass, and that's why you're still cranking out most of the issue. I wonder if we just lost our National Weather Service next year. Let me go to reflectivity. No, it's still there. Good. All right, good. Let's zoom in a little bit more here for you. We'll do probability of severe hail here on the south side. That product may have gone kaputs for me. I think right now it did. What about mean estimated hail size? Am I getting anything out of that right now? No, that doesn't look like it. It looks like I'm losing some of my derived products out of here, which is interesting. Velocity on these, again, we're doing a regular check of velocity because we want to make sure that the rotation. Okay, so it's starting to line up a little bit better. It's still not something that you look at this and say necessarily, even though you've got 2 what we call tornado vortex signatures, the radar algorithm picking up on 2 distinct areas it believes may have tornado development. That has been the case now for the past probably 10 to 12 minutes, I would guess. And the one area that would stand out as most interesting out of all of that would be just north of Holland. But when you go back over, let's see, to the reflectivity, yeah, now you're starting to see enough to make you think, because now you're starting to see a little bit of an inflow notch developing here, where you got wind coming in on the southeast side. You're pulling around the back side of the storm. So this is enough now that you do sit up and take notice. You've had 12 minutes of tornadic vortex signature coming out of the radar algorithm. We started out with it in an area where there wasn't nearly enough updraft to worry about it, because the whole point of a tornadic storm is it's a rotating updraft. So we didn't have that going on. Now you're starting to get this thing wrapping around itself, which happens because what happens is basically you may have an area of rotation, but it doesn't have an intense updraft with it. And as you start to get that intense updraft and the intense storm core lining up with the rotation, then it becomes a problem. So when I look at this, I say, all right, someplace like Fiskdale would be someplace I'd be a little bit more concerned about next. And I want to tell you why. And the reason is because these storms have generally been training or following the same kind of line. So basically, these are going to continue to move off to the east-northeast, but notice what's along that line. Pretty good storm core, pretty good updraft. So if you can take that rotation and at some point you can start linking it up with the south side of the updraft, that becomes more concerning for you, because now what you can do is you can actually start to tuck that rotation under the storm, and you can start to see this area that I was just pointing out becoming more of a contender. So are we there yet? No, I don't think we're there yet. Are we getting there? Yeah, little by little. There is one other thing, though, that's really important to note. So remember I had mentioned that I put the thunderstorm energy underneath this as well. Let me go ahead and probe the map again for you. So what you see, the top number, the bottom number is the reflectivity on the radar, and it is up around 65 to 70. So that's really heavy rain, torrential rain with hail at the center of these storms, okay? But the top number is your amount of thunderstorm energy. So we measure thunderstorm energy in joules per kilogram. It's just a sciencey way of measuring it, right? But one of the things that I'm doing here is I'm trying to say, okay, how much energy is actually available? And if you go off to the northeast and along that line of storms, do you see that number dropping? So basically, where the storm is having a little rotation with it now, you've got about 905 units of energy, or 900 units of energy, right? Joules per kilogram. As we come up to the area we're concerned about, it drops to about 700, about 500. Eventually, as you go far enough north, it goes up again because it hasn't been rained on yet, right? Now, this is not a lot of energy. However, we have found that when you're dealing with warm advection, with warm air moving in, and you have the winds in the way that I described them earlier, which we can go over again in a little bit, you can end up getting some low-level tornado development without a lot in the way of thunderstorm energy, of what we call CAPE, convective available potential energy. So that's partly why you're going to watch this really carefully. The other part is on the south side now. We're starting to see this lobe of energy. Let me see if I can illustrate that for you. We're starting to see this lobe of storm kind of a core coming in on top of it. I said energy earlier. That was not the right term to use, but you're getting this storm core. It's starting to come in, and it's trying to meet up with your area of rotation. So again, just all these things combined mean you want to continue to watch it. Look, it doesn't take away from the fact that you have a pretty broad area of downburst damaging winds that are a potential here. It looks like I'm waiting on a new scan to come in, and we'll see whether this populates when the new scan comes in or not. For now, I'll just bring you over to the storm relative velocity, which is a little bit more straightforward. We could zoom in. There we go. And this is that area that we're watching south of Fiskdale. Same area keeps coming up again and again, doesn't it? Yeah, starting to get a little range fold, it looks like, which means basically, yeah, you're look at that. Your wind is just it's going real fast on the backside of the storm. It's at the center of the hail core there, so you're getting a bit of range folding that's happening here inside the center of the storm. But this is going to be your area. You should be watching real carefully coming south of Fiskdale, because if that rotation continues to tighten a little bit more, I think you may have an issue with this thing. Let me go ahead and get you zoomed out a little bit more here. There we go. So the broad scale kind of way that this storm setup is basically you're talking about a large area southeast wind on the front side, which I could go ahead and actually telestrate for you. There we go. And then the back side, you get the storm coming down on the back end. Let's see, we got Mike Raffio. Mike, you're live on our live stream here at 1 Degree Outside. What do you got going on where you are? Any storms where you are?
Hey, Matt, I tell you what, it's a little bit dry right now. It's rained all day in Waltham, but the roads are starting to dry up a little bit. I got the water streaming off of my roof from my roof rack.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, it's kind of nice to have a moment where I don't need the rain jacket.
Well, at least we've washed the pollen out pretty well for you where you are in Waltham. We're actually watching a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings on the live stream right now. We've got one that's got an area rotation down near Fiskdale, Massachusetts, which, as you know, is just south of the Mass Turnpike. And the radar algorithm has been picking up on potential tornado development with that for a while. Then the other one's up by Gardner and up along Route 2. No rotation with that. Now a brand new storm out in Northwest Connecticut. So if you need to be on top of the weather here this afternoon, at least for the next hour or so, come find us at livestream.1degreeoutside.com. Okay, Mike?
Absolutely, Matt. The one and only place to go.
All right. Talk to you soon. Thanks. Take care.
Be good.
So there you go. You've got the report out of Waltham. And so he's got plain rain, and that makes sense. If we zoom things out a little bit, you can see where that rain is extended up north, coming up over Route 3. He had the rain earlier. Now that thunderstorm is outrunning the severe thunderstorm warning. So the warning that was up until 4:45, it's still got 15 minutes to go, but you can see the bulk of the storm is outrun it. Notice the temperature that I've put on here too. I've overlaid some of the temperatures so you can see where they're at. It's 57 degrees at Leominster. So one of the things that you consider here when, for example, the National Weather Service, when they could see, I'm getting concerned about that storm down by Southbridge. But when they're considering this stuff, one is going to be hail. The storm core is starting to weaken on that storm as it comes in toward Littleton on the up in northern Mass. The other one is going to be damaging wind. If it's 57 degrees and it's coming into an area where it's 55, running from, let's say, about Bedford up to Lawrence, that's not going to be something where you're going to worry about wind necessarily making it down to ground level. So really then the big storm on the map right now is the one that's just over Fiskdale. This is the one that we're continuing to keep a pretty close eye on for you, because I've been seeing some signs that we may get a little bit of rotation that's been going on with this thing. Yeah, storm relative velocity. There you go. It's still, look, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. It still isn't something where I jump out of my seat at it. And the reason I say that, even though we've got this tornadic vortex signature coming out of the radar algorithm, one of the things that I'm looking at is, okay, yes, you definitely have wind that's blasting in behind this, storming on the belly of it. You definitely have good, well-developed southeasterly inflow coming over Southbridge right now. You absolutely have a broad-scale rotation at the center of this thing, but it's broad scale. You're not seeing this real smack dab gate-to-gate shear type setup that's over you right now. So that's why at this point, are you watching it? Oh, like a hawk. There's no question. We're watching it like a hawk. But at the same time, is it something that right away is screaming tornado development? No. The other thing I want to do is let me get back over to the regular reflectivity. Yeah, here comes that next storm. That one there's a couple of them, right? You got one that's coming down to Pike now, just out of the Pioneer Valley. Then you get another one. Now we're looking at it through the Boston radar here. Let me see if I can get switched over to just more of a composite. Get a little bit more real feel on that storm that's over the Connecticut. Yeah, it's still pretty good though, isn't it? That storm that's out over the Mass Connecticut border right now. hail that could be about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, severe hail probability about 40%. All right, that storm continues to move off to the north and east. So one thing we can do here, by the way, if you're curious about this next storm, I can actually go ahead and add a manual storm track on you and give you a little bit better feel for where we think this thing might be going out to next. So I'm going to start you out at the center of the storm. I'll bring it out. We'll match the storm motion here that's coming from the software, which is, by the way, I mentioned earlier, it's great software. WSV3 does a really nice job. Paul has put a great product together here. But 508 comes into Westfield, 517 West Springfield, Chicopee about 518, Holyoke same time, Granby about 526. So you get plenty of time. You get another hour almost, well, between 40 minutes and an hour, depending on where you are, before that thing's going to come in on top of you. But just be advised, it's going to be one area that you're going to be watching. Let's clear that manual track out of there. Let's go ahead and we'll see if we can zoom out a little bit more, get a better idea. Because obviously the big storms right now that we're watching are the ones that are over central Mass. One thing I haven't done yet is put any link out on Twitter or anything like that to this live stream. And a reason for that is because really, truly, what you're seeing is it's me trying this out. I've been working hard at putting this stuff together, but I want to make sure that I've got it working in a way that it's going to be what it needs to be when we really need it. Brand new severe thunderstorm warning now just issued for this storm. Of course, if you've been watching for a little while, it's not a huge surprise to you. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on here. This new severe thunderstorm warning in effect till 5:15. And you can see the areas that are indicated here. It also shows up in the orange box. I'll zoom it up to the north just a little bit. There you go. This is a pretty broad area, isn't it? Stafford Springs and Storrs and Danielson, Connecticut, all the way up to Spencer, Massachusetts. What's the thought process here? And of course, it's the U.S. government. It's the National Weather Service that issues these warnings. But the thought process here is twofold. One, they're looking at the same thing I've been showing you, which is this developing area rotation and a continued tornado vortex signature that's been ongoing for about the last 20 minutes. And so the concern here is that although I've been showing you, it hasn't quite yet matched up storm intensity with that rotation to the point that you're imminently concerned about a tornado, and that's why there's no tornado warning. That is one thing that you're concerned about. You're watching that, and you're saying, all right, we know there's some broad rotation of that. The radar's been warning us for 20 minutes that there could be a developing tornado. But I got to tell you, that algorithm, it's sometimes good, sometimes it's junk. But you're starting to see it come right in line with that storm core now along the Mass Turnpike. So that's one area to watch. The southern edge to this is largely because you're getting somewhat of an outflow that comes from the storm. And remember what we talked about with the warmth being to the south. So if you look, again, there's not a lot of temperatures on here, but Windsor Locks, Connecticut is 72 degrees. Even in northern Rhode Island right now, 66 degrees, right? So you've got this warmth and a warm front, really, that's made its way through across northeast Connecticut. So the concern here becomes if you're pushing an outflow boundary, that in and of itself may be able to cause some problems. The other issue is if we actually, let me go ahead and clear this telestration for you. I should be able to loop this through. Let me see if I can get it to loop over the last hour without it disappearing. Yep. Great. So if you look at your overall mean motion of the storm, right? What I'm doing is I'm leaving some of the storm tracks on here for you from an hour ago, and I'm playing things through. And you'll notice the mean storm tracks were off to the east and northeast, like the storm that went through Gardner now is coming through Littleton, but weakening and no longer has a warning with it. But what's happening to the storm motion on the tracks, to the storm tracks in motion on these storms on the south side? They're actually, starting to build southeast. You can actually see, look at that. The storm came across the Connecticut border. So the reason you get such a broad warning that comes out here with this storm across the Connecticut line is because you're getting a building into the warm air. So one thing I could do for you, let me go ahead and stop this. We'll come to the latest image. And I'm going to go ahead and probe the map. Again, the color contours that I put under here are where we're looking at thunderstorm energy. There's a great amount of thunderstorm energy that's out across western Connecticut. So in the Waterbury area, I'll put that number down on the map. I'll put Hartford's number down on the map. I'll put the number down on the map here in northeast Connecticut. And then I'll put the number down on the map somewhere, let's say, along the Mass Turnpike in the Metro West. Ready? Here we go. So you're paying attention to that DBZ value that you see. That's actually just essentially, that's just a radar kind of return value. But what I want you to look at here is I want you to look at that lower number, 302 joules per kilogram. Joules per kilogram is a measure of energy in the atmosphere. In this case, we're calling it convective available potential energy. Really long term, kind of sciencey term. What does it mean? basically energy available to go into thunderstorms. Bottom line on that, okay? So you got a ton of energy available for thunderstorms over Western Connecticut. You got a pretty good, decently high amount across Northern Connecticut where it's in the 70s. It's 79 degrees in Hartford right now. And then what do you have? You've got about 1,000 joules per kilogram, just shy of that in Northeast Connecticut. And then you drop to 300 in the Metro West, okay? Reason for that is because of all the cool air that's in the Metro West. Temperatures are in the 50s right now. So then really your issue becomes you're looking at an area that's prime in Northeast Connecticut for these storms to build south. They're going to build into that instability. It's funny, sometimes I think about the weather as a living, breathing entity, and I really do. And part of that is, you know how firefighters will tell you that your fire is going to go toward the oxygen, right? And it's also, you know, the fire begets fire, right? It needs heat, oxygen, and fuel. So in terms of this, you could think about this in a similar sense that you've got a fire in the atmosphere, but essentially what it needs is it's going to need some breathing room. It's going to need some fuel. The fuel is down in Northeast Connecticut. The fuel is that energy that I just put on the map for you. So that joules per kilogram, that measure of convective available energy, that's your fuel that's available, right? So your fire in this case is trying to expand down into that fuel. Here we go. Here's the latest image that just came in now. Let me take you out of the composite. Let me put you back into the NextRad radar that's out of Taunton. There we go. Gets us a little bit more detail. It's going to get us a little bit more of what we need to see. I'm going to go to storm relative velocity on this. Yeah, okay. So now we're starting to line this up a little bit better. Again, not quite to the point where I'm jumping up and down for you on tornado development imminent, but it's pretty close in terms of what we're looking at here. Let me go ahead and illustrate for you right here over 131 coming toward Webster. You do have gate to gate shear now in this particular case. Can I wipe that off the map? Let me see here. Let's see if we can clear that. All right. Let me see if I can get this. All right. There we go. Good. Get back over to the reflectivity. What I want to do is, that's embedded right underneath the storm core. I'd be a little more concerned here as it sneaks out on the east side of the storm. If the rotation gets left behind, then perhaps it's in a little bit better place. One thing that I definitely want to do is I think I probably should restart this software, which I think will mean your screen's going to go to black for a second. So for those of you watching, forgive me if you go to a black screen for just a moment, but I think I've lost a couple of products that I really would like. Let me see if I can get it back here. Stand by. Oh, okay. I've got some of this back. Good. Okay. Excellent. In that case, no need to reboot right now. So some of what I was mentioning earlier, and again, let me switch back and forth. Reflectivity. Yeah, it does this with the colors sometimes. There we go. Reflectivity. All right. So you've got your storm core now, east of Southbridge, coming in through Oxford and Webster, right on the front side. And if I switch over to my downdraft gust potential, and I'm going to go ahead and use that probe tool again. Look at that, 52 miles an hour, right? We'll drop something there. 53 miles an hour coming up toward Oxford. Now, the farther east you go, especially as you get east of 395, the cooler air is really going to limit just how much you can do in terms of downburst wind, making it down to ground level. So at some point, you outrun the more significant kind of downburst wind at the surface, and you start getting a downburst wind. Yeah, reflectivity palette gets a little confused sometimes. There we go. And you start getting that instead being an elevated wind. In other words, it stays just off the deck and just off the top of the cool air. Cool air is very dense. You learn about how cool sinks and warm rises. So dense cool air, if you're trying to blow thunderstorm winds from aloft down into that, it's almost like a bit of a force field. So the farther east you go into the cooler and cooler air, the more of the force field you're going to have there. I've even seen instances where we've had a tremendously well-defined hook echo indicating a tornado. You get reports that there's a funnel, but it just never is able to break through the cool air that's near the surface. If you are just joining and watching, it's great to have you here. This is basically a trial run, a test run of the live stream. You can see here I am, just unshaven, walked in and said, let's give this a shot and see how it works. When I first fired it up, you can always find the live stream without fail at livestream.1degreeoutside.com. and that's our Twitch live stream. I also, when I first went up, was trying to put it out on YouTube. It failed, but I could see some of you are watching on YouTube now, which is fantastic. I appreciate that you are. Maybe I should click on it so I can see your chat if you've left anything. But if you want to chat with me, oh yeah, there's a lot of you that are on here. Okay, cool. Oh, there's Tim, and thank you very much, Tim, for everything you've been chiming in on. Vicky, 66 right now in Sutton, 61 degree dew point. Love it. Excellent. It's good to see you guys chatting along here in the YouTube chat. Again, the one that I've got right up here on my desktop, and this is just a learning process for me. So now I'll be able to have this live stream up more often, but on YouTube for the chat window as well. I think there's even a way I can break it out, isn't there? Pretty sure I can break that out. Yeah, pop out chat. Let's do it. Cool. All right. Now I can see you guys on the YouTube chat better as well. You've got livestream.1degreeoutside.com is where I've got the Twitch chat, and that I'm able to see right in my radar program as well. So again, if you're just joining, you're probably kind of looking for a bit of an update here on what we've got going on with our severe thunderstorm warning. So basically, you've got two warnings at this point. You've got one warning that's out across the Springfield area. That one is just expiring now as the storm is about to outrun the warning box. The other one is it's not brand new anymore. It's out probably 10 minutes ago, but this one's out till 5:15. This is largely for hail and damaging wind. Again, we've been talking about how as you look at these areas that are under the gun, which is basically just south of Worcester through southern Worcester County, running in through northeast Connecticut, these are areas that we're watching twofold, one for damaging wind and one for perhaps some severe wind with that, maybe rotation on the north side of the storm. And then that's building down into northeast Connecticut. Hail at the center of the storm would be another concern with this as well. Let's see if I can go out and let's have some fun. We'll go ahead. We'll tweet out the link on Twitter, and we'll get folks to come on by. Kicking the tires on a live stream for the severe storm warnings, and up for about 45 minutes. Up for a bit longer. Stop on by livestream.1degreeoutside.com. See you there. Okay, great. So, all right. So with that, we'll go ahead and we'll just kind of recalibrate for a second. What I'll do is I'll take us out to the large view of all of New England. There we go. And there's you can see there's actually a new severe thunderstorm warning now that's out across northern Vermont until 5:15. We've also got a line of storms that's coming out of the White Mountains. But let's go ahead and zoom in on the storm that's in northern Vermont right now. Morrisville, center of the storm is over you. What about where this storm is heading and when we expect it to get there, right? Well, Cambridge about 4:38, Jeffersonville, Vermont about 4:42, 4:55 to Johnson, Vermont, Hyde Park at about 5 o'clock, and 5:02 to Morrisville. But you can see that would be based on where the center of the storm was, the back edge of it. If we update that, I want to take that out. That was from the National Weather Service warning. I want to go ahead and put a manual storm track on for you here. And one thing we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to start the cell track right at the center of where it is now, coming in on Morrisville. Let's bring it out. There we go. We've got a storm motion about 40. We're going to bring it out due east or just south of east for you. And there's some updated time. So 5:36 would be getting to Lyndonville, 5:37 around West Burke. So if this storm can hold together long enough and can get out there with a bit of a damaging wind core, but I think the bigger thing for you right now is probably going to be hail. That's the larger concern. You've got enough cold air up in northern New England that you'll be able to crank out some hail out of that. Also watching a developing line of storms coming in through the far north country out of Coos County right now. Whoa, there we go. Out of Coos County from Berlin and then running back up to just about Rangeley. That's a line of downpours. May have a little thunder and lightning with that. And if you're just joining right now, it's good to have you with us here as we take a look at central Massachusetts, northern Connecticut. These are the areas that we have severe thunderstorm warnings. The one that's on the west side is about to expire any minute, literally in a minute. There is a follow-up storm that's trying to come out of northwest Connecticut, but at this point, it's not really getting a lot of support, not getting its legs underneath it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch you over to the next rad as we zoom into the storm. The storm's got the warning out into southern Worcester County. So this next rad is going to be the radar. It's the next generation radar that's out of the Taunton National Weather Service office, or now out of Norton. But the Weather Service, the radar dome is still out of Taunton. Regardless, you can see what's going on here. Bottom line is that you've got a large storm complex. You've got a severe thunderstorm warning that's out until 5:15. The general storm motion was pegged southeast, but we're going to expand on that because that's not entirely the case. The hail threat radar indicated so far no reports of hail with it, but you figure there's got to be. The other concern is that you may have 60-mile-per-hour winds. And you can see the list of towns that all show up here as well, right? And this is straight out of the National Weather Service warning product, the U.S. government warning that you get. What we've been doing a little bit more here together, and I welcome those of you who are just joining here on a live stream. By the way, very informal, in case you can't tell, very informal. A way to kick the tires. I started streaming, I think the first 20 minutes. I think I was talking to myself. I don't think I properly set the live stream up. But the idea here is just to kind of get comfortable with some of the technology on my end, give you a little bit of a feel of what kind of stuff that we've got that we're going to be able to showcase this upcoming season at 1DegreeOutside.com. You can always find us. If you're watching on the YouTube live stream, that's great. But the home for the live stream, just so you know, is at livestream.1degreeoutside.com. That's where you can always kind of touch base, chime into some of the chat that I have there, which is a Twitch chat. I've got this streaming on Twitch as well, and a chance to kind of connect with me there. Okay, so you can see that there's two areas with this storm. It's a huge warning. A huge warning. I mean, it goes essentially almost to Milford, Mass on the northeast side. All right, it runs all the way down to Storrs, Connecticut. But there's two different reasons for this warning, essentially. And this is one of the things that you don't, this is where I can at least add some value, right? Because when you get the warning and it shows up on your phone or whatever the case might be, you're just basically able to look at this and say, okay, I know that I'm under a severe thunderstorm warning. It talks about damaging wind and hail. Now, all of that is true, and you should be prepared for all of that as well. But one thing we've been talking about here is that really this time around, the damaging wind threat is mostly from the Mass-Connecticut border down into northeast Connecticut, northern Rhode Island. That's where most of that is. The hail threat is going to be there, but the hail threat also extends north up 395 and into central Mass. Now, there's a reason for that, which is you've got much cooler air that's on the north side of this storm. In fact, so cool, one of the things I can do here, let me wipe off the telestration. I'll go ahead and I'll add the actual temperature observations for you. It's going to zoom you out. Sorry, I'll zoom you back in when I stop telestrating all over the place. There we go. So one of the things that should stand out to you right away, I've got a lot that I just put on this map, but it really does help to tell a story. So the numbers that show up are the temperatures. Fitchburg's 57, Worcester Airport 57, 55 degrees at Bedford. Folks, there is a wealth of cool air in place from the Mass Pike, the Metro West, up through Northeast Massachusetts. It is very, very hard to get any type of damaging wind to make it down to the ground when you've got that mass of cool air. Cool air is dense. It doesn't like to move. You're going to take that downburst wind, you're going to blow it into the top of the cool air, and boop, it's going to bounce right off the top of it. All right. So in this case, you're not overly concerned about damaging wind showing up on the north side of this storm at all, which includes, by the way, the north side of the warned area as well. Oxford, for example, not overly concerned about damaging wind for you, even though the wind is blowing like crazy right above your head. How can I prove that to you? Well, let me put the next rad on here for you. The updated radar product that every 60 seconds you get a scan. Let's look over East Douglas as an example. I want to take your downdraft gust potential. I want to plot it out, and I want to probe it for you. Look at this. You're talking about 49 miles an hour. You got spots. It's the bottom number that shows up there. 51 miles an hour. If you live under this right now in East Douglas, I think you can back up for me that you don't have nearly winds going 50 miles an hour, right? There's too much cool air. But you get on the south side of this storm complex, we've actually been watching this entire thing build down into southeast Connecticut. Now I've got a lot, when I probe the map, I got a lot that shows up on here because I've plotted so many things. So let me just use this map for for the other purpose I intended it for, and then we'll move along and get it out of there so it's not quite so much. But I do want to show you that you've got not only 72 degrees at Bradley Airport, 79 in Hartford, 73 when you get around Storrs. But the other thing here is if I probe the map again, you've got a ton of available energy for thunderstorms too. We measure available energy for thunderstorms in what we call joules per kilogram. It is a measure of energy. You think back to some of your chemistry classes and how many joules are in a calorie and all this. Well, in this particular instance, look, we're trying to measure how much energy is available for thunderstorm development. And you'll notice that it drops from 2,347 units out by Torrington to 619 units by Danielson. Well, in case you're curious, up around the Boston Metro, it's 283 units. All right. So this is what I'm talking about with when you get outside of the warm air, you get this rapid degrading of thunderstorm energy and you just don't have the same support. But that's the reason, by the way, because there's more thunderstorm energy in Connecticut. That's the reason the storms have been able to build in that direction. So if I were to go ahead and put a loop on this and say, all right, let's loop over the past hour or so, you're going to see it kind of backload a little bit here, but let me turn off the composite so it's not confusing. There we go. But as we loop things through, look at that expansion south that's happening into Connecticut, right? At first, I'll zoom out so you can see the trend a little bit better. At first, all of your storms were near or north of the Mass-Connecticut border, which was near the warm front. Now what have they done? They've not only have they expanded south, but they've actually been back building. They've been back building out towards stores. Back building is basically when a storm moves in the opposite direction or builds in the opposite direction of the general storm motion. So I've got those white kind of arrows, triangles on there, or cones for you, showing you the overall storm motion, which also, by the way, has changed from more easterly to southeasterly. But now on top of that, I'm saying, okay, now you've got basically what is also these storms kind of building backwards. If I were to telestrate for you again, you'd see right there over stores. See that? They're kind of getting stronger to the west. Even though the line itself is dropping southeast. So you say, well, what do I care? Well, the reason you care is because if you're in some of these portions of the southern end of the, whoops, there I go, telestrating all over myself again. There we go. If you're in the southern end of the Warren Storm area from stores almost down to South Windham, at least at Windham itself, you've still got a chance of these storms to develop in on top of you. All right. And the reason for that is because you have a lot of that energy that's available. I'm going to turn off a lot of this kind of noise that I have here, pun intended. We'll go over to the composite next, Rad. This is going to zoom your view out for a second. That's okay, because if you're watching us or you've been watching us for a little bit, we've also been talking about the severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect until 5:15 for northern Vermont. Lyndonville is right on the east side of this storm. The core of it has just moved across Morrisville. I believe, let me check. I believe I am plotting live. Nope, let me put local storm reports on. Here we go. All right, let's go back over then. So I'm plotting local storm reports on. And okay, so when this stuff was coming out through Western Mass, this was, of course, earlier, much earlier. We did have some hail. So this was the torrential rain and hail up to a quarter size near 291 in Springfield, Mass. That was at 4:15. So that was over a half hour ago, right? It was about over an hour ago that we had a report of 0.8-inch hail that came out of Chicopee or near Chicopee. We had 0.9-inch hail, nearly inch hail in Westfield. And here's a report of 1-inch hail that came out, and hailstones covered the ground at Route 23 out in Russell, Massachusetts. So that's what got all this started. You'll notice that at least so far, there's been no new reports of any type of storm damage or hail. I bet they'll come in. Yeah, and the reason I say that is I especially bet they'll come in out of this storm that's cranking when you get into northeast Connecticut right now. Part of this too, let me see if I can get a hail size estimate for you on this, or at least a probability of severe hail for you. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. All right, so underneath you've got the plane radar. I could probably get rid of that, but I don't even need to. Let me just telestrate over it for you. Boom, right here. This is going to be your probability of severe criteria hail. And right at the heart of that, look at that, 80% chance. 80% chance of severe criteria hail right now at the center of this storm. Let me zoom in a little bit more for you. Let's wipe off that telestration. Let's wipe it off again until I learn not to keep telestrating all the time. Here we go. So this is Route 44. This is 171. There's that 80% chance of severe hail right now. Let's go ahead and put a street label on that for you. That's right over Route 12. So it's where Route 12 comes off of 44 in Northeast Connecticut. All right. This is an area where you've certainly got hail ongoing. Even the surrounding area of it's got about a 70% chance or greater. So basically from 171 at Kennedy Drive and then running all the way across 44 and coming across 395, I'm quite certain you've got to have hail that's coming down right now. One of the other things that we can do for you here is we can also try and get the estimated hail size. There we go. Let's go ahead and go to the probing again. Look at that, 1.7 inch by the radar. I doubt 1.7 inch hail is reaching the ground. If it is, we've got some amazing hail damage going on here. Mostly cleared out of Oxford and Charlton. Thanks, Real Gamer Cal. Appreciate the update there. See you on the chat. And that's on the Twitch chat, by the way. For those of you who want to be on that, that's the chat that I have built right into my screen. I do have the YouTube chat off to the side here, and so let me catch up with some of those in a moment for you as well. I'll finish the thought here on what's going on with the hail size. 1.6, 1.7 inch hail. I'm sure that when you get up into the cloud, you've got that going on. I doubt that we're actually seeing that reaching ground level, but that certainly should confirm to anybody that there's hail coming down with this thing. And now it's crossed over into Northwest Rhode Island. So again, it was a very broad severe thunderstorm warning when it first came out from the government. If you've been following for a while here in the live stream, one of the things that I immediately was talking about with this was the fact that there was a good reason for it to be so broad, because on the north side, we had the concern of hail. And for a while, we had the concern of rotation. Now, at no point, I was even telling you during it, at no point was it an imminent tornado development. But it was starting to rotate, no question. And it was just a question of whether it would get tucked underneath the strong storm updraft or not. And it really hasn't done that. And now you're starting to see what we call some stratoforming out going on here. And that's, again, it's a geeky term, but I promise you that when I use the geeky terms, I will always explain what I mean by it, because I can do that now because I'm on the internet. And so I don't have to fit it all into a short window of time. So what happens is there's two types of rain that develops in the atmosphere. Generally, there's convective, which is like when you take the top off a pot of boiling water and you get the steam cloud that rises. That's called convection. When you get this gradual or more gradual process of warm air riding over cold, that's what we call stratiform. That's the more gentle stuff. I mean, you can get some heavy rain amounts out of it, but that's the kind of broad band of rain that you see that comes in versus the convection, the whoosh. And that's where you get the real heavy downpours. What you're looking at, of course, in Connecticut, Rhode Island, southern Worcester County is convection. It's that whoosh. That's what gives you the thunderstorm. But on the east side, and this is what I'm talking about, you're starting to get this stratiform precipitation. What this tells us is that a lot of the warmth that was thrust up with these storms is, and you could take that sound effect with it. It's just kind of coming out over the top side. So that's why here's the latest warning out. Literally, you just watched it pop on your screen from the National Weather Service. All right. This warning now, where is it issued? Totally down to the south. So you used to have this issue where the storms were producing hail across the Mass Pike, came down. There's some new reports, I believe, coming in. There you go. Told you there'd be some, right? Southbridge, magnitude 1-inch hail that's come in right now. There's another report, magnitude 1-inch hail that's coming out of Fiskdale. Now, you'll remember, if you've been watching a while, Fiskdale is where we saw some rotation inside the storm and where I started to go, ooh, it was just starting to tip the scale from being okay to, all right, you get a little bit concerned about it. So interesting that we got 1-inch hail out of that when it came through there. Not surprising. But this next warning that has just been issued now basically goes from Woonsocket, Rhode Island to Moosop, Connecticut, all the way down to Kingston, Rhode Island, and Fall River, Massachusetts. Okay. This warning is out until 6 o'clock this evening. The storm motion is southeast at 33. Your max hail size has been bumped up now, 1.5 inches. Why? You know why if you've been watching the live stream. Remember, together, we probed into the storm core over northeast Connecticut, and we found 1.7 to 1.8 inches up in the cloud that was possibly, according to the radar algorithm, could be able to come down to the ground. I said I doubt it would come down that big, but that's the reason why when you see this warning out now for 1.5-inch hail, it's not a mystery. It's not something where you say, why do they say 1.5-inch hail? This is why, because we look together, we know there's cold air aloft, we used the radar estimate for the algorithm, and we were able to show you where the hail estimate was back when it was a 1-inch hail estimate that was with the storm before. Okay, so max wind gust to 60. We'll dive into that in a minute. And here's your list of towns that are going to be along the path. one of the things I could certainly do for you here is I can show you the storm ETA towns and times that we love to see. I want to make sure I don't go off the screen for you. My screen is a little bit bigger than yours, so that's why I got to be careful I don't slide it off so I can see it, but you can't. You should be able to see this now. There's your long list of towns and times of arrival. This is great software. Hats off to Paul in Windham, New Hampshire, who has put this together. This is called WSV3. It's a great way to track severe weather, and it is what we are proud to be using here at 1 Degree Outside. I had told you leading into this, we got stuff from overseas in Europe for some of it, and this is one that was homegrown, Windham, New Hampshire. Paul Marv putting this together. Great job. All right, so you can see off to the west is a tornado vortex signature. If you haven't seen one of these before, because you're just joining us on the live stream, we dealt with this and talked about this a while back. We had a bunch of them over Massachusetts. What it is, it's the radar algorithm that looks at this and says, yeah, you know what? I think there's a developing tornado that's going on right here. A lot of times it's junk, a lot of times it's not, but sometimes it is, which is why we go through the whole process of analyzing the wind inside the storm and seeing what's happening with the wind analysis. The other thing we're starting to see happen, and it's part of the reason, I'm going to clear the warning towns and times because I think you got a good look at those by now, right? The other thing we're starting to see happen here is we're seeing a bit of an attempt for a mini bow echo to develop. And what I mean by that is you're starting to get this line. If you look at the shape of it, it's in the shape of a bow. What happens is you've got it's kind of a textbook scenario where you've got the center, what was a rotating center of a storm that was not enough to warrant a tornado warning, but still represents rotation in the atmosphere that's now over central mass, and that's hitting cooler air. It's producing torrential rain. A little bit of hail might be left. But really what's happening is on the south side of that storm now, you're wrapping in these winds from the north and west. So you get this line, this leading edge to the line where you're talking about potential for damaging wind, but it continues to expand more and more. And so you develop the thunderstorms along that leading edge because you're also coming down into all the warm air that's sitting down through here. So what you're going to do is you're going to continue to fill that bow out. It's going to try to come together into one coherent line, but at each point along the way, you have the threat for damaging wind. I can probably clear this and show that to you with a downburst gust potential. This is a downdraft gust potential. There we go. This is great. Nice job by the radar of showing what's going on here. Let's go ahead and take this up north just a little bit more. Now, again, I'm not overly concerned with what's going on up around central mass. Yep, 44 mile per hour downburst winds are possible, which, by the way, wouldn't do a lot of damage for you anyway. But the bigger thing to me is the bottom number that I'm showing you out of the two that show up here, 45, hold on, it's coming. There we go, 52, 53 mile per hour downburst wind potential, Northwest Rhode Island right now. You come out of it again, and then when you come back down to Connecticut, there we go, ramping back up again. All right, 45, 48, 50. So these are the areas of downburst wind that you'd be most concerned with. The stuff to the north, you're too much in the cool air, so I'm not overly concerned about that. But just so you know, that's what you're looking at. You also, it's kind of cool. Let me see if I can illustrate again. This really does show what I was telling you about, where you've got these different clusters. See the clusters of wind, and then you get space between them. So this is really right now, not only are you looking at really localized spots where you get the wind gusts that are going over 50 miles per hour, but on top of that, you've got entire gaps between where any downburst wind is going on right now at all. So just so you know, that's another interesting kind of a component that you can look at. I'd love to get back over to our probability of severe hail product and see if I can get an update on that. Yep. And it looks like the radar's not, it's picking up on some of it across Northeast Rhode Island. We're not seeing a lot of it. Let me go back. Let's get rid of that composite reflectivity that's underneath there. Let's go back to just the standard. Switch back and forth here. There we go. Yeah, sure enough. You know what? I'll be darned. There you go. Technology for the win again. Sure enough, we've seen a real weakening of the thunderstorm cores over Northeast Connecticut, shifting to the east into Rhode Island here. And so, yep, that would be the spot where you'd be talking about some of your greatest hail potential would be coming in through Northwest Rhode Island along Route 44 and 94, dropping in toward Route 6 as it continues to move southeast toward Greenville and Johnston. Let's go ahead and while we're at it, and I want to get caught up on your chat comments here in just a quick moment. Okay, good. Yeah, while we're at it, what I wanted to do is I just wanted to throw the the storm relative velocity on here for you. Right now, it looks like everything's pretty much moving in the same direction. We're not seeing anything that stands out as being a significant rotation. We can also put gate-to-gate shear product on here, and let me probe it just so we get a little bit better idea. Yeah, these values are really nothing that we have to be imminently concerned about. So at this point, you really are talking about what is a hail, damaging wind, and heavy rain concern. You're not talking about a rotational component. For those of you that are watching from the Boston metro area, look, the rain's just into Boston now. You can see there's the leading edge to the showers. They stretch down the Mass Turnpike. It's raining cats and dogs around Hudson. It's just moving into Maynard. Marlborough, you're sending it off to the east now. That's going to continue to Waltham. So 95 is going to be a pain in the neck, basically from Lexington 4 and 225. Isn't it always, though? All the way back down through, to Route 1 at the split and beyond, because this is where your thunderstorms are. So for those of you that maybe need to do some commuting north, yes, it's raining in Essex County, but it's not heavy stuff. And the heavy stuff is mostly going to stay from 4 and 225. Running across probably the Revere point southward. And again, that's not going to be damaging stuff. The damaging stuff is focused where the warnings are down to the south. All right, let me get caught up on some of your chats. I really appreciate some of you. So first of all, again, first time doing this live stream, just kind of let you know where things are at with it. If you go to livestream.1degreeoutside.com, you'll find the Twitch live stream that I do. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why we do it with Twitch, but it's very straightforward, very easy. And I get the chat right up here in my window. That, again, is from livestream.1degreeoutside.com. There is also a YouTube stream that we've got going on right now. And so I'm seeing the chat from some of you on that. Let's see. So we've got lots of crackling thunder. Vivid lightning went through southeast Sutton, Massachusetts. I'm between Salisbury Street and Newton Corner in Worcester. Lighter minimal winds, some more steady rain. Good. And that now has moved through you as you look at the live radar here. Sorry, I was a little slow to see the chat again. I'm just kind of kicking the tires for the first time myself here, so it's great to be catching up on these. TK, is Matt going to send you out in the rain like old times? Sean, very cute. Tim Kelly was on for a while. I don't know if he still is, but Tim was on for a while. And it was great to see Tim on here. Of course, Tim and I still keep in close touch, and he's fabulous. Took me under his wing all those years ago when I first came to NECN. So really, it was Tim kind enough not to send me out into the rain. Wonderful. Sun peeking through. Thanks for the info. Okay, good. Dr. Oren, good to see you. Are we getting a clearing after the thunderstorms in the north? Sure. Rainbow possibility. Great question, Dr. Oren. Let's answer the question with actual technology. So let's come back in here. I'm going to throw a visible satellite on here for you. And yes, we do have some clearing that's going on out to the west. That's the good news. The issue may be that we've got too much of a component coming out of the east and southeast with an ocean component the farther east that we go. I think we're locked in pretty good on the low altitude stuff. But let me go ahead and put this into motion here. Yeah, look at this. Look at this, Dr. Oren. You had some of the clearing trying to get in. Look at that. Athol trying to get in toward Gardner. And what does it do? Oh, it fills back in. Oh, so I'm not super optimistic. It's not impossible. I just think you probably have a little bit too much in the way of kind of ocean influence going on, out ahead of this thing. One thing I'll do is on this. Actually, I could probably put it right on here for you. Let me put the actual 10-meter wind on for you. I was going to say I'm going to load it up on the side, but why should I load it up on the side when I can load it up for your eyes to behold? Yeah, we do have some shifting wind that's going on. It looks like it's fairly light right now. Let me see if I can go ahead and plot. Hold on. Let's plot some of the put on the observations. I just put temperatures on. Holy cow, is that for real? Did you really just shoot? No, that can't be. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Hold on a second here. Let's see here. There we go. That's more like it. That was some leftover old data. I was like, there's no way that's right. That Bedford went to 70 something. There we go. 55. That sounds right. Yeah, 54 right now. When you get into Beverly, 5 mile per hour variable wind. Bedford has gone. Yeah, Bedford's northeast right now. Boo. And I only say boo because I just don't think you're going to get your clearing that you were hoping for. if you are just tuning in, good to have you here. Bottom line is we've been tracking these storms. They continue to move now into the Metro West, although the good news for you is that they're not severe in the Metro West. The bad news is they're producing some pretty heavy rain. So you're talking about what is going to be a real slow go on the roadways here from Marlboro. You're just on the back edge of it, but coming into 95. And anybody who ever tries to travel I-95 at 5 o'clock in the evening when it's raining cats and dogs knows it's a pain in the neck, and that's going to be the case all the way down 95. Route 1 is just about to get into it now. Downpours coming over Franklin. Let's see. Nice coverage in your first time streaming, learning a few things watching Cape Cod. Oh, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. So the radar, so very pixelated for you on the interesting on the live stream. So I'm wondering if that's because you're watching on the YouTube stream. Let me see. Let me switch over. Oh yeah. Yep. That's why. So listen, I'm telling you, not to drive folks away from YouTube. I appreciate YouTube. Thank you very much, YouTube. That's going to be something I'm going to make a note of because I need to figure out what's going on with that. The YouTube stream, I'm just looking at it right now. It's terrible quality. But if you come, I'm telling you, just type in your browser right now, livestream.1degreeoutside.com. 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 Come over to that one. It's like crystal clear. And that's the Twitch one. My guess is this is not a YouTube issue, though. My guess is this is a me streaming issue. So I'm kind of thinking that may be what's going on there. But yeah, if you come on by, we'll get you set up with the more clear live stream at that address. So, all right, cool. So getting back to the radar and what we have going here, very cute, by the way. I'm getting spammed on the Twitch chat. Thing is, that actually could be my kid. Hey, Dad, you only have 8 people watching. Thanks. Well, this is we're kicking the tires. You know, you got to start somewhere. Today is a practice run through. So for those of you that are watching, and again, you know, if you're seeing this pixelated and you want to come over to livestream.1degreeoutside.com, you'll see it in stunning clarity, and I'll work on how to get it fixed on the YouTube side. But nonetheless, can I do it? I don't think I can do it on the fly, can I? No. Hold on. No, you know, it says it's going out at 1080p, but it certainly isn't translating to YouTube that way. Nope. Let me see. I'll go into settings and make sure. Yep. Nope. 1080p. So those of you watching it on YouTube, I'll have to check out the YouTube settings and see if there's something better that I can do. It's like watching it on on HD TV on the Twitch live stream at livestream.1degreeoutside.com. Okay, so here we are with the warnings that are dropping south now in through northern Rhode Island. Again, your severe thunderstorm warning here is out until 6 p.m. Southeast motion on the storm, 1.5-inch hail estimate out of this. But if we go to the hail estimate now, what I'll do is I'll give you the actual real-time hail estimate, and it's come down quite a bit. Yep, way down. Look at that, way down to the point that it's barely even showing up overall for us here. Let's see. We can go ahead and probe that. Look at this. Yeah, what, 0.3-inch hail, 0.3-inch hail. So this will be the last warning out of this storm that you're going to see, I would guess, unless something changes and it really flares up considerably more. We can switch over, and out of the mean estimated hail size, we can go to the probability of severe hail, and that doesn't look too impressive either, does it? Nope. So back over to reflectivity we'll go, the more kind of standard view that you're used to seeing. We'll zoom things out a little bit for you here. And again, this is pretty quickly evolving into a heavy rain and to some extent a cloud to ground lightning event, but even that is pretty limited overall. So, there's 495. Sure, we'll put the 495 label down. Thank you. Very nice. All right. All right, let's switch this back over here. And you can see there's some pretty decent decibel values, some pretty decent radar returns coming back in the suburbs south of Boston. But at this point, that really is only a heavy rain threat. So, look, yes, are you tucked in away from windows on the south side of these storms? Absolutely. Greenville's about to get it. Valley Falls about to get it. Pawtucket is right on the edge of this as well. But at the same time, as this comes in, it's running into some cooler air. It's outrunning a lot of the thunderstorm energy that was in place. So I think we're going to see a continued weakening of this. Let's go to the estimate of the downdraft gust potential. We'll go ahead and probe that. You still have these areas that are like 48, 49, all right, 47 when you get across the Connecticut line. But look, when we started, we were talking 55, 58, right? So it's come down pretty considerably from where it began. Let's go back to reflectivity. There we go. This storm back in Danielson on 395 is one to watch. It is trying to wrap itself up a little bit. And the reason I say that is because essentially what you have here is, let me see if I can telestrate for you. You've got inflow on the north side of the storm. You got a northwest wind coming in on the backside, and then this is your rotation. At this point, it's kind of a mesoscale broad rotation. This is not something that you look at and that you right away worry about the fact that you've got potential tornado development out of that. It can go to storm relative velocity. So you don't have any red and green. You basically don't have anything that's moving in a different direction. Everything's pretty much stable and moving in the same direction at the same time. So that's a good thing. And by the way, that's the case also when you get across much of northern Rhode Island. There's no indication you've got any rotation that's going on inside of these. So with that, I think what I can do is probably answer any questions that you might have, and then kind of log off here, because even in northern New England now we've seen. I'll go back over. Let me go back over to the full New England view. The warning is expired up in Vermont. That storm has weakened just a bit. 495 really wants to get some airtime. It doesn't want to let go. I love it. But again, that warning down over Rhode Island is the one game in town right now, and that storm is starting to at least show signs that it's quieting down. It certainly isn't something where you ignore it if you're in the warned area. You want to be tucked in away from windows in Pawtucket, but we're just seeing the wind signs come down with that. We're seeing a hail core come down with that. We're not seeing any rotation, so that means I'm going to come down pretty soon. But let me just see if there's any other questions in the chat that I should address before we say goodbye. Thunder Whitman now coming down to beat the band of Franklin. Yeah, you got hit pretty good, didn't you, Sean? Let's see. Wicked weather, Matt. Can't wait till you cover hurricane season or Easters. So much better than TV live. Way to go to you and Danielle. Thank you, Peter at Cape Ann. Really appreciate that. Look, also though, I think look, if you watched me a long time, you know this already. I'm very humble, right? And I really do mean that. I mean, like, I know this isn't where our final product is going to be, and I hope you guys who are watching know that too. But I'm also totally cool with trying stuff out and seeing if it works and seeing if it flies. And I think these tools, they seem to be pretty insightful. I think they really helped. I mentioned earlier, there's a great program. It's called WSV3. And it was built right in Windham, New Hampshire. How cool is that? That's where the programmer's at. Paul did a great job putting this thing together. And so it's been a real cool tool for us. And it's how we plan on covering severe weather this season with it. And you're right, it is. It's a different feeling from TV for a number of reasons. One is I can dive a little bit deeper. It's not a broadcast to the masses. It really is. If you've come here, you're looking for weather. You want to geek out on weather together, right? So it's a chance for us to do that. So I hope this has been cool. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I think that with the storm going down to the south and east now, we'll just tell folks down in Rhode Island, Fall River, keep an eye on it. But I'm going to go ahead and probably kill the stream. And if there's anything, oh my goodness, that pops up again, I'll come back up with you. But if you like this look, find us. Danielle and I, we're all over the place on social media. Our handles are at the number 1DegreeOutside.com. All of our videos, we keep updated at 1DegreeOutside.com. If you go right to the homepage, you'll see all the videos there. Ironically, you won't yet see a link to this live stream. You got to know the web address. So you got to hear it from me, livestream.1degreeoutside.com. But you can bookmark it if you want. Anytime we're up, you'll see it there. Thank you, everybody, for stopping in. And I'll look forward to seeing you the next time. It's probably going to take me 20 minutes to figure out how to turn this thing off. But take care. Thanks for stopping by.